Hello students. Yesterday we have discussed some important questions regarding to chapter work, power and energy. So today let's discuss some questions and let's do some revisions on rotational motion. So as this chapter is quite extensive and also this is very hard for you, I know that. So that's why again let's see revision so that before examination you can be prepared easily. So here in this chapter rotational motion, number of topics we have, so we can divide the chapter as I told you already while teaching you that topic. So first of all, like here we have to study about, in this whole chapter we have to study about the rigid body. So first rigid body, you know that the bodies that have some definite shape and definite size. So it means that the intermolecular distance between the particles in case of rigid body, that is very small. That's why they just interact with each other, or the bonding between them, that is very strong. So they have a definite shape and size here. And also in the whole of the chapter we have taken a condition here. We will talk only about the uniform bodies, means the density of the system that will be uniform here. So that's why I think now there is no confusion in all when we are studying rigid body. Simple as before this you have studied the motion of particle, motion of body in one dimension, in two dimension, whatever you have studied that. So here if we have number of particles at one place and we are just taking their collective motion, then that types of motion is known as the motion of system of particles or motion of rigid body. So in another word you can say that rigid body is the collection of system of particles. So here we will talk about the number of particles that are acting, that through which any body is made up of. Clear? So in this way here a most important concept that we will take, that is the concept of center of mass here. So basically center of mass is that point at which the mass of the substance can assume to be concentrated. Like if we have some spherical shape body, then in this case the sphere is symmetric about its center. So we can just say that whole of the mass of this sphere is at this center point. Actually why we are doing it, you know already. Here we have number of particles and we cannot study all the particles individually. So that's why we just change the number of particle system into one particle system. Means here we are just converting our rigid body condition into one body condition that we have studied before in Newton's law or in motion in straight line, motion in plane. So that's why we are just trying to convert it into that system. So this is our way to convert. Here we are taking the concept of center of mass. So simple center of mass, it is not necessary actually that ki center only will be the center of mass. It means that where the mass is concentrated, you can say that whole of the mass is concentrated at this point, and that point is known as center of mass. So I think that is now easy. And also if this body is in motion, then we can just understand its motion, its acceleration, velocity, whatever in terms of the motion of center of mass. Simple, here we are just converting all the bodies into one body system. So it means that whenever body will be in motion, we have to take the assumption that all individual particles through which body is made up of, that is always constant, that is at rest, but still only the point that is moving, that is the center of mass point. Clear? It is not actually in actual practice, if you will see, all the particles are moving, but still for study purpose we are just taking that center of mass will be in motion, other all particles will be at rest here. Clear? I think. Next, how many types of motions we have? So here first of all you know that motions are basically, you have studied here two types of motions, and later we have also studied about the vibrational motion. Number of motions we have, but still in this case we will talk about basically two types of motion. First is translational motion or linear motion. So you know that what is translational motion. Whenever body is just going on along with any horizontal line or plane, that types of motion is known as translational motion. Second thing, if a body starts to rotate about some axis or some point, then that time its motion is known as pure rotational motion. But still, if body is rotating as well as it is just doing translational motion, like translational motion is this: if something body is going in this way, then this is translational motion. If body is still at rest, this center is at rest and this is moving, just like you can take sun is at the center and earth is moving around it. So here the movement of earth and position of earth, actually that is not changing, or position of sun is not changing. That just as usual, that is what. So in this case its motion is pure rotational motion. But whenever this body is rotating as well as it is moving linearly, like if you will just throw a ball, a spinning ball, then you have a ball spins and ball just move in forward direction. So that time ball is doing both kinds of motion, rotational motion as well as translational motion. So that kind of motion is known as rolling motion here. So we have to study about the rolling motion also in this case. Clear? So here we have basically we have to study about the three cases: rotational motion, translational you have already studied there, and even in case of rotational motion you have studied, but still so many factors we will see here, and also about the rolling motion. Next thing is that how can we say that if a system is made up of number of particles, then we can just take one point as the center of mass. So let's prove it by taking two particle system. We will convert two particle system into one particle system here, and you can see that we can just take one point as a center in place of two particles. So in generalized way we can take n particle system as a one particle system. So let's see that. So here this system we have taken, this is two particle system. Means system is made up of two particles A and B, and their positions from the origin, that is R1 and R2. Suppose we have taken a point as a center, that is C, and its position vector, that is R from here. We have to prove that we can take whole of the mass concentrated at this point. Suppose mass of A particle, that is M1, mass of B is M2. Now suppose F1 and F2 forces, external forces that are acting on these two bodies. So we know that every system, rigid body system, they are made up of obviously large number of particles, and they are interacting with each other. It means that they are applying forces on each other also. So that forces is known as internal forces, and here we are applying external forces. So according to Newton's law, the movement of the body per that will be defined by both of the forces, internal and external forces. So we can write just Newton's second law for both of the particles. So for first particle, if you will write Newton's second law, suppose first of all let's calculate what will be the velocity of first particle. Suppose both of the particles are vibrating or they are in motion. So that's kind velocity of this one is known as dr1 by dt, and velocity of this will be calculated as dr2 by dt. Clear? Now we can just write for first particle the Newton's law of motion, that will be equal to m1 into a1. So in place of a1 you can write ddt of v1 is equal to we have force F1 plus this is external force, and internal force that A will apply on B. We can write it by F1 2 here. Similarly for second case we can write M2 dV2 upon dt. Here the external force that is acting F2, and this particle will just impart some of the forces on this particle A, that is internal force. So this value is F2 1 here. Now with the help of these two equations we can solve it easily. So let's just put the value of here V1 and V2. So if we will put value of V1 and V2, this equation will become d2r1 dt2 square, and this equation will become dr2 in dt2 square. Clear? Now let's add these two systems, then let's see what will be get. So if we will just add them side by side, then first of all here we will get m1 d2 r1 upon dt2 plus m2 d2 r2 upon dt2. This is equal to here f1 plus f12 plus f2 plus f21. And we know that by the Newton's third law, that is here these two particles that are, it is imparting force on it and it is imparting force on it, that are equal and opposite in nature, means like they are just forming action and reaction pair. So for that case, this F12, this will be equal to minus of F21, means they are equal in magnitude and only their direction of action, that is in opposite direction. So if we will put this value, then definitely it will be cancelled out and we will get finally F1 plus F2. So F1 plus F2 is the total external force that is acting on the system. So we can represent it by some F here, and that in total internal force will act on this particle C here. So in place of the C, obviously by Newton's law of motion we can write, suppose that at C, capital M mass that we are taking. So in this case we can write M d2r by dt2. Clear? So now from this whole of assumptions we can easily see a number of things. So we can write this equation as here d2 of dt2 plus m1 r1 plus m2 r2. Obviously we can write this equation in this way. Now if you will compare it, then we will get here, if suppose we are just taking m this side upon m, then we can compare these two equations, then r will be equal to, that is r is equal to, we have m1 r1 plus m2 r2 divided by this m. This m is the whole mass that we are suppose we are taking that this is concentrated at C. It means that m is equal to m1 plus m2. So from this equation, one thing is clear that we can, if you will see, for number of systems, if we are just taking their motion into consideration, means number of forces are acting on it, and if we are just taking their summation, their addition, then that is equal to the force that is acting on this single particle C. So it means that we can just assume some center, some point on which whole of the mass can be concentrated from here. Means here what we have done actually, we have just converted two particle system into one particle system. We can just represent two particle system by one particle system, where we can assume that whole of its mass is concentrated, and here this position vector will represent the distance between that point from the origin, and that point will represent whole of the system. So in case of rigid body, we never take, for study purpose, we never take individual particles motion. We are only taking the motion of center of mass, because here we can easily, you can see that if body is uniform, here one thing I am just saying, then that time obviously the center of mass that can be, you are just you can suppose that at one point its center of mass can, or its whole of the mass can be concentrated, and if we will see only the motion of that point, then we can see the motion of all of the systems. So this is very easy to study about the motion of rigid body with the help of center of mass. So that's why whenever we have just spherical body, we have square body, we have triangular body, but then we just first of all we can find out its center, and with the help of that center we can just understand the velocity, acceleration, whatever all the properties of that rigid body whenever it is in motion. Clear? So simple motion of rigid bodies can be understandable by easily by this concept of center of mass. So this is very important concept to understand even center of gravity and center of buoyancy. So that you have studied already. So if that one thing is clear in your mind, then with the help of that you can understand that two concepts also here. So from here, if we have to just find out what will be the position vector of this center of mass from the origin, then this can be defined by this way. Means if we know the masses of individuals and we know the position vectors, then we can easily find out what will be the position vector of the center of mass. Or simple, if we know center of mass position from any of the from origin, and we don't know where the second particle, then we can easily find out by this equation what will be the distance of the second particle from there. Now the next concept that is here important, that is motion of center of mass. So whenever center of mass will be in motion, then how can you find out its property, like forces that is acting on it, momentum, velocity, acceleration. So let's see how to find out this. So first of all, we have one equation for the position of the center of mass that we have derived just now. So suppose a number of particles we have, n particles we have through which our rigid body is made up of, then we can write the position vector r as m1 r1. If r1 is position vector of m1 particle, m2 r2. If r2 is position vector of second particle, and so on. You can just write it for m1 rn here. Yeah? And if we multiply m here, obviously upon m1 plus m2 plus m3 plus and so on, that mn. So we can just write it by capital M, that represents whole of the mass, and its value is equal to m1 plus m2 plus m3 and so on mn. So in simple way, if you want to write that, we can write it in summation form. This is summation this, or we can also write it in summation form, but it's little. So now we just have this position vector for the center of mass. Now differentiate. Let's differentiate it with respect to t. So if we will differentiate it, then we will get, obviously this is constant. So this will be dr by dt. This is equal to m1 dr1 by dt plus m2 dr2 by dt plus m3 dr3 by dt plus mn drn by dt. So this equation we have. Now obviously the rate of change of displacement or position, that is known as velocity, you know that. So this represents the velocity of center of mass. So let's just denote center of mass velocity with some VCM, and here also this is the rate of change of position vectors for the individual particles we have. So we can just write, suppose its velocity is v1 and its velocity is v2, velocity is v3, and this velocity is vn we have. Then with the help of this formula, we can calculate what will be the velocity of center of mass easily. Now again, if we will differentiate this equation, then we will get m ddt of vcm. This is equal to m1 ddt of v1 plus m2 ddt of v2 plus m3 ddt of v3 and so on mn ddt of vn. And obviously here rate of change of velocity, that will be equal to acceleration of the system. So here in place of this we can write just what is the acceleration of center of mass, the whole of the rigid body, that will be equal to some ACM. If it is representing the acceleration of center of mass, then that will be equal to here m1, rate of change of velocity, acceleration of first particle, plus m2, here rate of change of velocity, acceleration of second particle, and so on. We can write it mn an. Clear? So with the help of this concept, easily now we can find out what is the velocity of the center of mass, what is acceleration of center of mass, and obviously if we have velocity of center of mass and mass of the center of mass, then definitely we can find out what will be its momentum here. So here this equation that you are seeing, that momentum is m into v we have. So through this equation we can easily write down its momentum. So its momentum is equal to, obviously it's denoted by PCM. This is equal to, you can see that here m1 v1, this is momentum of individual particles here, momentum of p2 and p3 and so on. This is for pn. So here we are seeing one thing, that the momentum for the center of mass, that is sum of the individual momentums of the particles. So one thing that should be clear here, the conservation of the linear momentum here. So if we will talk about the conservation of linear momentum, it means that the momentum of center of mass, that will be conserved, that will constant, but still the momentum of individual particles, that can be conserved or that cannot be. It is not necessary that the momentum of all individual particles, that should be conserved here. Only their algebraic sum that will provide the momentum of final or simple momentum of the center of mass. So center of mass, simple linear momentum of center of mass, that will be conserved in system if there is conservation law for angular momentum that is followed. But still it is not necessary always that system should have, all system of particles should have system of particles here, particles, individual particles would have that to follow that conservation law. Clear? So after doing discussion on center of mass, next topic, that is here the concept of rotational motion and the quantities that are important to describe any rotational motion. Like if anybody is doing translational motion, then you know that its position, its velocity, its acceleration, the forces acting on it. If you know that easily, or simple only 1-2 things you know, like if you know its velocity, or simple not velocity, you know its position, that is changing at any time, and also the mass of the particle, then you can find out all the things, all the information about it. So suppose next thing is that if any body that is rotating about some axis or some points, so suppose this is any axis about which center of, this is the simple rigid body that we have. It is made up of number of just particles. So irregular just rigid body we have taken, any rigid body about that we will talk. If it will rotate about some axis here like this, then in that case what are the quantities, how can we find out its acceleration, velocities, whatever, all the things. So here 2 things that we have to be clear about here. First thing, if we will take this axis as here at the center, then this system will start, suppose in starting this particle that starts to here just rotate in this path, or simple, if in simplification way you can take this, we have this shape. Clear? So any system that is rotating about this axis that is passing through its center, then this particle, suppose that we are taking sun earth system, obviously this is sun at the center, earth is just rotating around it. So in that case initially suppose earth is here, So obviously the position vector from here to center to between this we can represent by some r. Suppose mass of the system that is equal to m here. Now it starts to rotate in this circular path. So it will rotate, then suppose in dt time it just reach here, means from, suppose this is P point, this is Q point, in dt time it reaches from P to Q. So during this movement it is moving on this path. So if you will see, this is the arc here and this is just like the linear path, means here first of all body will just make linear paths from here to here, but still at center it will do some of the rotation with respect to center. So we can just see that it is making some angle d theta here on the center. So it means that this body that starts to move from here to here with the along with the circumference, then it means body will possess two types of motion here. First, if you will see its motion along this circumference, then that motion will be linear motion or translational motion. Means in dt time it can make some of the displacement that we can take by, suppose ds we are taking it, ds distance it has been moved. But still, if you will take with respect to center, then with respect to center this body is rotating. It is making, or it is just doing angular motion here, means it is forming some of the angle at this point. So suppose this angle is d theta, means with respect to center this body is making this angular displacement here. So in case of rotational motion we will just see angular word here. It means, angular word means simple body is making during its rotation the angle at the center. So if this angle is d theta, then obviously with the help of geometry we can write is equal to then we can write this distance ds, this is equal to r d theta. Clear? This is radius, this is angle here, and we can write this as a arc, the value of arc that is written by this way. Clear? Now we can just divide this equation by dt here, means in dt time it has been made this displacement and this angular displacement, then we can just take it. So this is, you are seeing that this is rate of change of displacement at this circumference. It means that it is rotating, it is doing linear motion with obviously some of the velocity. So let's take its linear velocity, that is equal to v here. So we can write this is equal to v, and this is r we have, and this theta, d theta by dt, this is rate of change of angular displacement. So rate of change of displacement is velocity, rate of change of angular displacement, that is angular velocity, and we represent this by omega. So this is the relationship between linear motion and rotational motion whenever body is moving on such types of path. Clear? So in every rotational motion, if you will see with respect to circumference, with respect to this point, obviously body will make translational motion also. So we can just connect two types of motion, angular motion and translational motion with each other. Clear? So this is the connection between them, and here you can just find out what is the value of omega, means value of angular velocity with the help of easily linear velocity and radius vector. Similarly, we can find out acceleration of the particle. So here now we can easily find out what will be the acceleration of this body. So obviously acceleration will be also of two types here. One is the body, if it is just its velocity changing with time, then a linear acceleration will be will produce here. Second thing, body changing obviously its position with respect to center, then if rate of change of velocity, angular velocity we will take, then that will provide you angular acceleration. So two types of acceleration that are acting on any body that is just doing some types of rotational motion. So the direction of translational acceleration, that is along the tangent. So at any point the tangent will represent its direction. So that's why this acceleration you can say also tangential acceleration, and we can denote it by some AT here. And second type acceleration, that is due to the displacement at this center. So rate of change of angular velocity, that will provide you the acceleration here, angular acceleration, so that is equal to we can just take and say that is radial acceleration here. Clear? I think there is no confusion at all in that case. So obviously our simple angular acceleration you can say here. So to find out the acceleration, let's differentiate this equation again. So if we will differentiate it again, then this will be equal to d2s by dt2, that is equal to r d2 theta by dt2. Clear? So rate of change of velocity, or simple you can just differentiate this one also. So this will be dv by dt is equal to r d omega by dt, and rate of change of velocity it is represented by obviously acceleration of the system, and r here d omega by dt, here rate of change of angular velocity, that will be equal to angular acceleration, and we represent it by some alpha here. So we can just find out what will be the value of angular acceleration easily by the help of linear acceleration and this radius factor. So these are the relationship between various quantities of translational motion and rotational motion or angular motion. So this is very important concept, how to derive them, how to just solve them. So I think today we have discussed about the center of mass, very important concept here, and also about the rotational motion, and that is clear. So let's discuss the rest of things of this chapter tomorrow. So after that I think your practical examinations will be started. So let's see what will be, but still I think that revisions will help you a lot. So let's end it here today.